Hello, I am going to read this book. It's called To All the Boys I Loved Before. I think it's either a movie or a show on Netflix. I can't remember, but I did buy this book because I wanted to read it. So I'm going to read it. Alright, I'm gonna get started now. I like to save things, not important things like whales or people or the environment, silly things. Porcelain bells, the kind you get at souvenir shops, cookie cutters you'll never use, because who needs a cookie in the shape of a foot? Ribbons for my hair, love letters of all the things I save. I guess you could say my love letters are my most prized possession. I keep my letters in a teal hat box for my mom bought me from a vintage store downtown. They aren't love letters that someone else wrote for me. I don't have any of those. These are ones I've written. There's one for every boy I've ever loved, 5 in all. When I write, I hold nothing back. I write like he'll never read it, because he'll never will. Every secret thought, every careful observation, everything I saved up inside me, I put it all in the letter. When I'm done, I steal it. I seal it, I address it, and then put it in my teal hat box. They're not love letters in the strictest sense of the word. My letters are for when I don't want to be in love anymore. They're for goodbye, because after I write my letter, I'm no longer consumed by my all-consuming love. I can eat my cereal and not wonder if he likes bananas over his Cheerios too. I can sing along to love songs and not be singing them to him. If love is like a possession, maybe my letters are like exorcisms. My letters set me free, or at least they're supposed to. 1. Josh is Margot's boyfriend, but I guess you could say that my whole family is a little in love with him. It's hard to say who most of all. Before he was Margot's boyfriend, he was just Josh. He was always there. I say always, but I guess that's not true. He moved next door 5 years ago, but it feels like always. My dad loves Josh because he's a boy and my dad is surrounded by girls. I mean it, all day long. He is surrounded by females. My dad is an OBGYN, and he also happens to be the father of 3 daughters, so it's like girls, girls, girls all day. He also likes Josh because Josh likes comics and he'll go fishing with him. My dad tried to take us fishing once, and I cried when my shoes got mud on them. And Margot cried when her book got wet, and Kitty cried because Kitty was still practically a baby. Kitty loves Josh because he'll play cards with her and not get bored, or at least pretend to not get bored. They make deals with each other. If I win this next hand, you have to make me a toasted, crunchy peanut butter sandwich, no crusts. That's Kitty, and inevitably there won't be crunchy peanut butter, and Josh will say too bad. Pick something else, but then Kitty will wear him down and he'll run out and buy some because that's Josh. If I had to say why Margot loves him, I think maybe I would say it's because we all do. We are in the living room. Kitty is pasting pictures of dogs to a giant piece of cardboard. There's paper and scraps all around her. Humming to herself, she says, "When Daddy asks me what I want for Christmas, I'm just going to say pick any one of these breeds and we'll be good." Margot and Josh are on the couch. I'm lying on the floor watching TV. Josh popped a big bowl of popcorn, and I devote myself to it, handfuls and handfuls of it. A commercial comes on for perfume. A girl is running around the streets of Paris in an orchid-colored halter dress that is thin as tissue paper. I wouldn't have to be that girl in that tissue paper dress running around Paris in springtime. I sit up so suddenly I choke on a kernel of popcorn. Between coughs, I say, "Margot, let's meet in Paris for my spring break." I'm already picturing myself touring with a pistachio macaron in one hand and raspberry one in the other. Margot's eyes light up. Do you think Daddy will let you? Sure, it's culture. He'll have to let me. But it's true that I've never flown by myself before. Um, I've never flown by myself before, and also I've never even left the country before. Would Margot meet me at the airport, or would I have to find my own way to the hostel? Josh must see the sudden worry on my face because he says, "Don't worry, your dad will definitely let you go if I'm with you." I brighten. Yeah, we can stay at hostels and just eat pastries and cheese for all our meals. We can go to Jim Morrison's grave, Josh throws in. We can go to a perfumery, get our personal scents. Done, I cheer, and Josh snorts. I'm pretty sure getting our scents done at a perfumery would cost the same as a week's stay at the hostel, he says. He nudges Margot. Your sister suffers from delusions of grandeur. She is the fanciest of the three of us. Margot agrees. What about me? Kitty whimpers. You, I scoff. You're the least fancy, song girl. I have to beg you to wash your feet at night and much less take a shower. Kitty's face gets pinched and red. I wasn't talking about that, you dodo bird. I was talking about Paris. Airily, I wave her off. You're too little to stay at a hostel. She crawls over to Margot and climbs in her lap, even though she's 9 and 9 is too big to sit in people's laps. Margot, you let me go, won't you? Maybe if it could be a family vacation, Margot says, kissing her cheek. You and Lara Jean and Daddy could all come. I frown. That's not at all the Paris trip I was imagining. Over Kitty's head, Josh mouths at me. We'll talk later, and I give him a discreet thumbs up. It's later that night. Josh is long gone. Kitty and our dad are asleep. We are in the kitchen. Margot's at the table on her computer. I'm sitting next to her, rolling cookie dough into balls and dropping them in cinnamon and sugar, snickerdoodles to get back in Kitty's good graces. Earlier, when I went to say good night, Kitty rolled over and wouldn't speak to me because she's still convinced I'm going to try to cut her out of the Paris trip. My plan is to put the snickerdoodles on a plate next to her pillow so she wakes up to the smell of fresh baked cookies. Margot's being extra quiet, and then out of nowhere she looks up from her computer and says, I broke up with Josh tonight after dinner. My cookie dough ball falls out of my fingers and into the sugar bowl. I mean, it was time, she says. Her eyes aren't red-rimmed. She hasn't been crying. I don't think. Her voice is calm and even before anyone looking at her would think she was fine, because Margot's always fine even when she's not. I don't see why you had to break up, I said. Just 'cause you're going to college doesn't mean you have to break up. Lara Jean, I'm going to Scotland, not UVA. St. Andrews is nearly 4,000 miles away. She pushes up her glasses. What would be the point? I can't even believe she would say that. The point is, it's Josh. Josh who loves you more than any boy has ever loved a girl. Margot rolls her eyes at this. She thinks I'm being dramatic, but I'm not. It's true. That's how much Josh loves Margot. He would never so much look at another girl. Suddenly she says, do you know what Mommy told me once? What? For a moment I forgot all about Josh, because no matter what I am doing in life, Margot and I are in the middle of an argument. If I'm about to get hit by a car, I will always stop and listen to a story about Mommy. Any detail, any remembrance that Margot has, I want to have it too. I'm better off than Kitty, though. Kitty doesn't have one memory of Mommy that we haven't given her. We have told her so many stories so many times that they're hers now. Remember that time, she'll say, and then she'll tell a story like she was 3 and not just a baby. You told me to not try to go to college with a boyfriend. She said she didn't want me to be the girl crying over the phone with a boyfriend and saying no to things instead of yes. Scotland is Margot's yes, I guess. Absently, I scooped up a mound of cookie dough and popped it in my mouth. You should eat raw cookie dough, Margot says. I ignore her. Josh would never hold you back from anything. He's not like that. Remember how when you decided to run for student body president, he was your campaign manager? He is your biggest fan. At this, the corners of Margot's mouth turn down, and I get up and fling my arms around her neck. She leans her head back and smiles up at me. I'm okay, she says, but she isn't. I know she isn't. It's not too late, you know. You can go over there now and tell him you changed your mind. Margot shakes her head. It's done, Lara Jean. I release her, and she closed her laptop. When will the first batch be ready? I'm hungry. I took the magnetic egg timer off on the fridge. 4 more minutes. I sit back down and say, I don't care what you say, Margot. You guys aren't done. You love him too much. She shakes her head. Lara Jean, she begins in her patient Margot. She begins in her patient Margot voice, like I am a child, and she is a wise old woman of 42. I have a spoonful of cookie dough under Margot's nose, and she hesitates and then opens her mouth. I feed it to her like a baby. Wait, and see, you and Josh will be back together in a day, maybe two. But even as I'm saying it, I know it's not true. Margot's not the kind of girl to break up and get back together on a whim. Once she's decided on something, that's it. There's no waffling, no regrets. It's like she said, when she's done, she's just done. I wish, and this is a thought I've had many, many times to count, I was more like Margot. Because sometimes it feels like I'll never be done. Later, after I've washed the dishes and plated the cookies and sat them on Kitty's pillow, I go to my room. I don't turn the light on. I go to my window. Josh's light is still on. Chapter 2. The next morning, Margot is making coffee and I'm pouring cereal in bowls. And I say the thing I've been thinking all morning. Just so you know, Daddy and Kitty are going to be really upset. When Kitty and I were brushing our teeth just now, I was tempted to go ahead and spill the beans, but Kitty was still mad at me from yesterday, so I kept quiet. She didn't even acknowledge my cookies, though I know she ate them because all that was left on the plate were crumbs. Margot lets out a heavy sigh. So I'm supposed to stay with Josh because of you and Daddy and Kitty? No, I'm just telling you. It's not like he would come over here that much once I was gone anyway. I frowned. This didn't occur to me that Josh would stop coming over because Margot was gone. He was coming over long before they were ever a couple. So I don't see why he should stop. He might, I say. He really loves Kitty. She pushes the start button on the coffee machine. I'm watching her super carefully because Margot's always been the one to make the coffee, and I never have. And now that she's leaving only 6 more days, I better know how. With her back to me, she says, maybe I would even mention it to them. I think they'll figure it out when he's not at the airport, Go-Go. Go-Go is my nickname for Margot. As in Go-Go boots. How many cups of water did you put in there, and how many spoons of coffee beans? I'll write it all down for you, Margot assures me, in the notebook. We keep a house notebook by the fridge. Margot's idea, of course, it has all the important numbers and Daddy's schedule and Kitty's carpool. Make sure you put in the number for the new dry cleaners, I say. Already done. Margot slices a banana for a cereal. Each slice is perfectly thin. And also Josh would have come to the airport with us anyway. You know how I feel about sad goodbyes. Margot makes a face like, emotions. I do know. When Margot decided to go to college in Scotland, it felt like betrayal, even though I knew it was coming, because of course she was going to college somewhere far away, and of course she was going to go to college in Scotland and study anthropology because she is Margot, the girl with the maps and the travel books and the plans. Of course she would leave us one day. I am still mad at her, just a little, just a teeny tiny bit. Obviously, I know it's not her fault, but she's going so far away. We always said we'd be the song girls forever. Margot first, me in the middle, and my sister Kitty last. On her birth certificate, she is Catherine, so to us she is Kitty. Occasionally we call her Kitten, because that's what I call her when she was born. She looked like a scrawny, hairless kitten. We are the 3 song girls. There used to be 4. My mom, Eve's song. Evie to my dad, Mommy to us, Eve to everyone else. Song is was my mom's last name. Our last name is Covey. Covey like Lovey, not like Cove. But the reason we are the song girls and not the Covey girls is my mom used to say that she was a song girl for life, and Margot said then we should be too. We all have song in our middle name, and we look more song than Covey anyways, more Korean than white. At least Margot and I do. Kitty looks most like Daddy. Her hair is light brown like his. People say People say I look the most like Mommy, but I think Margot does. With her high cheekbones and dark eyes. It's been almost 6 years now, and sometimes it feels like just yesterday she was here. And sometimes it feels like she never was, only in dreams. She'd mopped the floors that morning. They were shiny and everything smelled like lemons and a clean house. The phone was ringing in the kitchen. She came running in to answer it and she slipped. She hit her head on the floor and she was unconscious. But then she woke up and she was fine. That was her lucid interval. That's what they called it. A little while later, she had a headache and she went to lie down on the couch, and she didn't wake up. Margot was the one who found her. She was 12. She took care of everything. She called 911. She called Daddy. She told me to watch over Kitty, who was only 3. I turned on the TV for Kitty in the playroom, and I sat with her. That's all I did. I don't know what I thought, what I would have done if Margot hadn't been there. Even though Margot is only 2 years older than me, I looked up to her more than anybody. When other adults find out that my dad is a single father of 3 girls, they shake their heads in admiration, like, how does he do it? How does he ever manage that all by himself? The answer is Margot. She's been an organizer from the start. Everything labeled and scheduled and arranged in neat, even rows. Margot's a good girl, and I guess Kitty. I followed her lead. I've never cheated or gone drunk or smoked a cigarette or even had a boyfriend. We tease Daddy and say how lucky he is. They were all so good, but the truth is we're the lucky ones. He's a really good dad, and he tries hard. He doesn't always understand us, but he tries, and that's the important thing. We 3 Song girls have an unspoken pact to make life as easy as possible for Daddy. But then again, maybe it's not so unspoken, because how many times have I heard Margot say, "Shh, be quiet, Daddy's taking a nap," before he has to go to the hospital, or "Don't bother Daddy with that, do it yourself." I've asked Margot what she thinks it would have been like if Mommy hadn't died. Like, would we spend more time with our Korean side of the family and not just on Thanksgiving and New Year's Day? Or Margot doesn't see the point in wondering. This is our life. There's no use in asking what if. No one could ever give you the answers. I try, I really do, but it's just hard for me to accept this way of thinking. I'm always wondering about the what ifs, about the road not taken. Daddy and Kitty come downstairs at the same time. Margot pours Daddy a cup of coffee black, and I pour milk in Kitty's cereal bowl. I push it in front of her, and she turns her head away from me and gets the yogurt out of the fridge. She asks, she takes it to the living room to eat in front of the TV, so she's still mad. I'm going to Costco later today, so you girls make a list for whatever you need, Daddy asks, taking a big sip of coffee. I think I'll pick up some New York strips for dinner. We can grill out. Should I get one for Josh too? My head whips in Margot's direction. She opens her mouth and closes it. Then she says, "No, just get enough for the 4 of us, Daddy." I give her a reproving look. She ignores us. I've never known Margot to chicken up before, but I suppose in matters of heart there's no predicting how a person will or won't behave. Chapter 3. So now it's the last days of summer, and our last days with Margot. Maybe it's not altogether such a bad thing that she broke up with Josh. This way we have more time with just us sisters. I'm sure she just must have thought of that. I'm sure it was part of the plan. We're driving out of our neighborhood when we see Josh run past. He joined track last year, so now he's always running. Kitty yells his name, but the windows are up and no use anyway. He pretends not to hear. "Turn around," Kitty urges Margot. "Baby, he wants to come with us. This is a Song Girls Only day," I tell her. We spend the rest of the morning at Target picking up last-minute things like Honey Nut Chex Mix for the flight and deodorant and hair ties. We let Kitty push the cart so she can do that thing where she gets a running start and then rides the car like she's pushing a chariot. Margot only lets her do it a couple times before she makes her stop. Although not as not to annoy other customers. So as not to annoy other customers. Next we go back home and make chicken salad with green grapes for lunch, and then it's nearly time for Kitty's swim meet. We pack a picnic dinner of ham and cheese sandwiches and fruit and salad and bring Margot's laptop to watch movies on, because swim meets can go long into the night, we make a sign to that says, "Go, Kitty, go." I draw a dog on it. Daddy ends up missing the swimmy because he is delivering a baby, and as far as excuses go, it's a pretty good one. It was a girl, and they named her Patricia Rose after her two grandmothers. Daddy always finds out the first and middle name for me. It's the first thing I ask when he gets home from a delivery. Kitty's so excited about winning 2 first place ribbons and 1 second place that she forgets to ask where Josh is until we're in the car driving back home. She's in the back seat and she got a towel wrapped around her head like a turban and ribbons dangling from her ears like earrings. She leans forward and says, "Hey, why didn't Josh come to my meet?" I can see Margot hesitate, so I answer before she can. Maybe the only thing I'm better at than Margot is lying. He had to work at the bookstore tonight. He really wanted to make it though. Margot reaches across the console and gives my hand a grateful squeeze. Sticking out her lower lip, Kitty says, "That was the last regular meet. He promised he'd come watch me swim." "It was a last minute thing," I say. "He couldn't get out of working the shift because one of his coworkers had an emergency." Kitty nods begrudgingly. Little as she is, she understands emergency shifts. "Let's get frozen custard," Margot says suddenly. Kitty lights up, and Josh and his imaginary emergency shift is forgotten. Yeah, I want a waffle cone. Can I get a waffle cone with 2 scoops? I want mint chip and peanut brittle. No rainbow sherbet and double fudge. No way. I twist around in my seat. "You can finish 2 scoops and a waffle cone," I tell her. "Maybe you could finish 2 scoops in a cup but not in a cone." "Yes, I can. Tonight I can. I'm starving." "Fine, but you better finish the whole thing." I shake my finger at her and say it's like a threat, which makes her roll her eyes and giggle. As for me, I get what I always get. The cherry chocolate chunk custard and a sugar cone. Margot pulls into the drive-thru, and as we wait our turn, I say, "Maybe they don't have frozen custard in Scotland." "Probably not," she says. "You won't have another one of these until Thanksgiving," I say. Margot looks straight ahead. "Christmas," she says, correcting me. "Thanksgiving's too short to file that way, remember?" "Thanksgiving's gonna suck," Kitty pouts. I'm silent. We never had a Thanksgiving without Margot. She always does the turkey and the broccoli casserole and the creamed onions. I do the pies, pumpkin and pecan, and the mashed potatoes. Kitty is the taste tester and the table setter. I don't know how to roast a turkey, and both of our grandmothers will be there, and Nana, Daddy's mother, likes Margot best of all of us. She says Kitty drains her, and I'm too dreamy-eyed. All of a sudden, I feel panicky, and it's hard to breathe, and I couldn't care less about cherry chocolate chunk custard. I can't picture Thanksgiving without Margot. I can't even picture next Monday without her. I know most sisters don't get along, but I'm closer to Margot than I am to anybody in the world. How can we be the song girls without Margot? Alright. So, I was planning on only reading for like half an hour. I might stop here and read later. I'm not sure. But have a good